The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and silence. Machines beeped steadily beside the bed, each sound a reminder that time was slipping away from us. I lay there, my body weak, my breath shallow, every inhale feeling like a negotiation with death. Beside me was my brother, Daniel. We weren't supposed to be here together like this. Not in this state. Not fighting for survival, while the people who brought us into this world were somewhere else, laughing under the sun. Daniel coughed softly, his hand trembling as he adjusted the oxygen mask on his face. "They still haven't called back," he whispered, his voice strained. I turned my head slightly, the movement alone draining what little strength I had left. "No," I said quietly. "And they won't," because by now it had been 3 days. 3 days since we had both been admitted. 3 days since the doctors had explained the severity of our condition. 3 days since we had reached out to our parents, begging, pleading, hoping. And 3 days of silence. Then, finally, we saw it. Daniel's phone buzzed weakly on the bedside table. With effort, he reached for it, unlocking the screen. A notification from social media. He tapped it. And that's when everything inside me broke. A photo. Our mother, smiling brightly, wearing sunglasses, standing on a white sandy beach. Our father beside her, holding a drink in his hand, the ocean stretching endlessly behind them. The caption read, "Living our best life. No worries. No stress. Palm tree sun, #vacation mode." Daniel's grip tightened around the phone. "They posted this today?" I closed my eyes.
"Yes, today."
While we were here, fighting for every breath, they were there, living their best life. Daniel's voice cracked. "We called them. Multiple times." I nodded slowly. They saw the calls. And ignored them. There was no anger in my voice anymore. Just emptiness. Because anger implies expectation. And somewhere along the way, we had already stopped expecting anything from them. It hadn't always been like this. There was a time when our family felt complete. Dinner tables filled with laughter. Birthday celebrations. Shared holidays. Moments that, in hindsight, now felt like scenes from a life that belonged to someone else. Our parents had once been attentive, present, even loving. But things began to change. First subtly. Late nights at work turned into frequent absences. Conversations became shorter. Affection became transactional. And eventually distance became normal. By the time Daniel and I became adults, the emotional gap had already widened beyond repair. Still, we never imagined they would abandon us like this. Not when it mattered most. The diagnosis came unexpectedly. A rare and aggressive condition affecting both of us. Doctors were puzzled. "How are two siblings presenting the same symptoms at the same time?" they asked. Tests, scans, and consultations followed. But the conclusion was clear. We needed immediate treatment, urgent care, constant monitoring, and emotional support. Especially emotional support. The kind that only family could provide. That was when we called them. At first, we thought they didn't hear the phone. So we called again. And again. Voicemails were left. Messages were sent. Urgent pleas explaining the situation. No response. Then, finally, after hours of waiting, our mother replied with a single text. "Busy right now. We'll call later." Later never came. The doctors had given us a grim timeline. Without proper care, our condition could deteriorate rapidly. Each day mattered. Each hour mattered. And while medical staff did everything they could, they emphasized something else repeatedly. Support from loved ones can make a significant difference. But our loved ones were posting vacation photos. Daniel stared at the screen in silence. "They didn't even check on us," he said quietly. I swallowed hard. They didn't want to. That truth hurt more than the illness itself. Because illness is something you can fight. But abandonment? That leaves scars no treatment can heal. On the 4th day, something inside me shifted. Not physically. Not medically. Mentally. I stopped waiting. Stopped hoping. Stopped expecting. And replaced all of that with something else.
Clarity.
"Daniel," I said slowly.
He turned his head toward me.
"We need to make a decision." He already knew what I meant. Our wills. Documents we had prepared years ago, like responsible adults, ensuring that if anything ever happened, our assets would be distributed fairly. At the time, we had named our parents as beneficiaries. Out of obligation, out of tradition, out of the assumption that family always comes first. But that assumption had now been shattered. "Are you serious?" Daniel asked. I nodded. They made their choice. Silence filled the room. Not the peaceful kind. The heavy kind. The kind that sits on your chest and refuses to move. Later that evening, a lawyer visited the hospital. He had been contacted urgently. When he entered the room, his expression softened slightly as he took in our condition. "I understand you want to make amendments to your wills," he said. "Yes," I replied. "Both of you." Daniel looked at me for a moment. Then he nodded. "Yes." The process was straightforward. Legal documents were prepared. Signatures were witnessed. Amendments were made. And one by one, their names were removed. Our parents, the same people who had given us life, the same people who had chosen not to be part of it when we needed them most.
Gone.
Erased from our final wishes, not out of hatred, but out of truth. That night, as the hospital lights dimmed and the world outside continued without us, Daniel spoke quietly. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" I took a slow breath. "It's not about right or wrong anymore," I said. "It's about honesty." He nodded. "They taught us how to survive," he said. I turned to him. "But they never taught us how to feel supported." There was a long pause. Then he added, "So, we're choosing differently." I smiled faintly. Yes. 2 days later, a miracle happened. Not the kind that cures everything instantly, but the kind that shifts outcomes. The treatments began showing progress. Our bodies responded slowly, but positively. Doctors were cautiously optimistic. "It's still critical," one of them said, "but you're stabilizing." For the first time in days, we felt hope. Meanwhile, messages from our parents finally arrived. Not calls. Messages. Short ones. "What's going on?" "We saw your missed calls." "Why didn't you explain?" Daniel laughed bitterly when he read them. "Explain," he repeated. I closed my eyes. Too late. Always too late. Eventually, a video call request came through. Our mother's name appeared on the screen. Daniel looked at me. "Answer?" I thought for a moment, then shook my head.
No.
He hesitated, then declined the call. Not out of revenge, but out of closure. Because sometimes, answering a call means reopening doors that should remain closed. Weeks passed. Recovery was slow but steady. We remained in the hospital for observation, undergoing treatment and rehabilitation. And during that time, something unexpected happened. We began rebuilding something. Not a relationship with our parents. That bridge had already burned. But something within ourselves.
Trust.
Strength. Independence. And a new understanding of family. Family, we realized, isn't defined by blood alone. It's defined by presence, by action, by showing up when it matters most. And our parents had chosen absence. The final discharge day arrived. As we prepared to leave the hospital, Daniel looked at me and said, "Funny how everything changed in here." I nodded. Yes. He smiled faintly. "We lost some people, but found ourselves." I returned the smile. That's the one thing they can't take away. As we stepped outside into the sunlight, the world felt different. Not because it had changed, but because we had. We no longer carried the weight of expectations that would never be met. No longer waited for apologies that would never come. And no longer defined family by those who abandoned us. Months later, our legal documents were finalized. Our parents remained removed from our wills. No inheritance. No claim. No entitlement. Not as punishment, but as a reflection of reality. And somewhere, far away on a beach, under the same sun they once posted about, they lived their lives, unaware, or perhaps unwilling to accept, what their absence had cost them. Not money, not inheritance, but something far more valuable, their place in our story. And for us, we survived, not just physically, but emotionally. And in surviving, we reclaimed something they never expected us to have again: control over our own lives. Because in the end, the greatest inheritance isn't what others leave behind for you. It's what you choose to carry forward without them.